Hello vinyl YouTubers, this is Chris. I'm here to do the response to this Battle of the Bands or 20 band matchup. So I've picked out loads and loads of music to show, and I'll attempt to go through this and pick somebody out of these. So starting with the Birds and no, sorry, that's question 3. Beatles, Stones. So I have picked the Stones on this one because there's more likelihood that I will buy something Stones related in the future. I don't know what I would buy by the Beatles individually or collectively, but to show a few things. This is the most recent Beatles item I got, other than I think I got a Chipmunks album cover from Norman Masloff, because I had the vinyl and he had an empty cover. But I got this Beatles Go Baroque. So some classical, it's divided up into 4 tracks. Each track has 4 parts, it looks like. But this was, I think it was an eBay thing that I bought, or it was Amazon, but they'd misidentified it, sent the wrong item, this, rather than what I got. So this ended up being free. Beatles Go Baroque. And some, my normal Beatles stuff. Beatles Anthology 1, 2, 3. When I was living in Orlando, I worked downtown, and every once in a while they would get a store come in that was decent. They had a used bookstore for a little while, so I'd go in and stare at all the Wizard of Oz books that they had up on the wall, and browse through the other stuff, and then that closed, and they had a record store for a little while. They had a CD shop, which is where I got these Beatles things from. I think these are like $10 a piece. But this Beatles bootleg compilation, Arrive Without Traveling, Arrive Without Aging, and these two Russian twofers, Revolver and Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper's, and a collection of oldies, which they would even throw in some bonus tracks on Magical Mystery Tour. But then Stone stuff is kind of similar. Bridges to Babylon with this fancy cover. The Voodoo Lounge CD, and then the Voodoo Lounge CD-ROM that I got, I think, at Tuesday morning. I took my mom there, or she took me, and found something there that I was interested in, this CD-ROM of the Stones. And then this bootleg Sweet Black Angel. This is June 24th, 1972 in Fort Worth, Texas. I think it's a 4 CD set. Rolling Stones, Sweet Black Angel. So I picked the Stones because of likelihood of future purchases. All right, so the Who versus the Kinks. So my Kinks album I'm going to show, Golden Hour of the Kinks. So they've crammed 10 songs per side on this compilation. And the Who is this sort of box set. The Who Together. which is a looks like a record store. I mean a club edition. So a 2 CD set in this LP type box. Recorded on the 1989 tour at Radio City Music Hall. And somehow I picked up this Kids Are Alright booklet, but I don't have the Kids Are Alright album to go with it. But out of those I picked the Who. Again, you know, I don't think I bought anything from either of them recently. And there have been some nice Who, Kinks reissues, so maybe I would end up buying something from them, but I picked the Who in this case. Alright, now we get down to the Byrds and the Doors. So the Byrds, this is a tribute album, Time Between, and the Doors, long box set on CD. So in this case I picked the Byrds because I have actively been buying Byrd stuff over the years, and I don't think I've bought much in the way of Doors recently. So the Byrds went out. The Byrds collectively and individually, I keep finding stuff, mostly individually lately. Third or fourth one is Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush. So I picked this Peter Gabriel one. I think this has been shown by many people, so I thought I'd jump on and show it. And for Kate Bush, I recently got this box set, Kate Bush remastered in vinyl volume 1, so this is the first 4 LPs. So normally I didn't know who I was going to pick, but since I bought Kate Bush recently and I haven't bought any Peter Gabriel stuff for a while, I picked Kate Bush. Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder is the next one. So I thought I had an album by each, couldn't find it. I found singles by each. Oh, let me get this on the camera. So Stevie Wonder, You Are the Sunshine of My Life, and Marvin Gaye, Got to Give It Up Part 1, both on the Tamla label. But that didn't seem like a very good representation on, picking either one of those. So I threw that out and I picked instead David Johansen and Robert Palmer. So David Johansen, formerly of the New York Dolls, then he was solo, and then he was Buster Poindexter. Here he is back under his own name with the Harry Smiths doing a blues-based album. So this is the last thing I bought by David Johansen, and I would have thought that I would have picked him because I like his solo stuff a lot and the New York Dolls, but instead I picked Robert Palmer. So this is the most recent one I got of Robert Palmer, Don't Explain, a 2 LP set in a single sleeve. This might be a non-US release. I think this is the most recent album I have by him and the most recent purchase. So I'm picking Robert Palmer to replace the Marvin Gaye Stevie Wonder. My list is over off camera, so I keep looking over there. Next one is U2 and Echo and the Bunnymen. So I got the typical U2 Unforgettable Fire album, but that's pretty much what I have, other than I think I've got a Boy cassette somewhere, but I couldn't find it. And Echo and the Bunnymen, so I picked Ocean Rain. This might be the first Echo and the Bunnymen that I bought. So that is, I'm going with Echo and the Bunnymen for this one. And then Wings versus ELO. So here's my Wings collection. Wings Over America, 3 LP set. And then the best ELO album, ELO 2, in spite of having Roll Over Beethoven on it, which doesn't really fit in with the rest of the album, but the other there's 5 songs on it, so if you throw out Roll Over Beethoven, then you've got 4 really good long tracks on here. ELO, so that's my pick out of those 2, or my winner. Now, Joy Division and the Smiths. So here's my Joy Division. Pretty exciting. A plain black box, but inside of it, it has Joy Division box file, classic live cuts, and studio outtakes. But they didn't really tell you what you get or where they came from. So I had to create my own track listing and which LP were they on, but this is a 3 LP bootleg Joy Division. And then the Smiths, you know, there's, oops, Smiths 1, The Queen is Dead, Strange Ways, Here We Come, and Meat is Murder. So I'm going to pick Joy Division, though my most recent pickup along those lines is, you know, something by Morrison. I got a couple of CDs and 1 album, but I'm picking Joy Division. So Iggy Pop and Lou Reed. So I've gone with Iggy Pop in this case. There's 12-inch single, Cry for Love, backed with Little Miss Emperor. And then Lou Reed is this, oops, keep hitting the microphone, this Italian box set. Three LPs, don't recall where this is from. Had a clipping, Lou Reed live in Italy, so you can read about it. That's the CD reissue of it, but I haven't bought any. Probably I don't think I've bought Lou Reed or Iggy Pop recently, but I had picked Iggy Pop. Van Morrison and Van Morrison and Elton John. So Van Morrison, Blowing Your Mind on Bang. And Elton John, Rare Masters, 2 CD set, compilation. So I'm picking Elton John, though it's not likely that I'm going to be buying any future Elton John unless something really strange happens. there might be some Van Morrison that I pick up, so that kind of belies my answer, but I picked Elton John in this case. Bob Dylan and Neil Young. So I would have thought Neil Young would be the winner, but spoiler alert, it's going to be Bob Dylan. There's Neil Young, Freedom. I think this is 1989 album. And I picked Bob Dylan because the most recent purchase I got was Bob Dylan. So I picked up this Bootleg Series Volume 10, another self-portrait. Recordings from 69 through 71. So this is I think it's a 4 CD set. 127 page book, I think, and then the little box with the CDs in it. And I mainly got this because I had another self-portrait, which I got at, a thrift shop or something. It was only $1, but it was only $1 because it was only one of the 2 discs. So I did get that. So Dylan in this case. Now Blondie and the Pretenders. So there's Pretenders 2 and Blondie Parallel Lines. So that's pretty much the Blondie collection. Maybe there's something else, but I've got some other Pretenders, so they're the pick. Excuse me. Next up is Blur and Oasis. So I passed because I don't have any Blur or Oasis, so instead I picked, I skipped over one, but instead I picked Roy Harper, Come Out Fighting Genghis Khan. Genghis Smith, Come Out Fighting, and Robin Hitchcock, Invisible Hitchcock. So, of these 2, I have picked Roy Harper. And I think I've just purchased, haven't received it yet, a Roy Harper album. Which maybe I'll show in a future video. So next up, or actually the one that should have preceded this, is Bowie and Prince. So there's my Prince, Dirty Mind. This has a edge warp that I'm trying to get rid of. And then Bowie, thought I'd show this reissue of my favorite album by him, Man Who Sold the World. I've got the cartoon cover on vinyl, but then this is a reissue with some bonus cuts on it. So that was my pick there, and I forgot to show with Roy Harper this cassette goes along with it. Flat, Baroque, and Berserk on the Harvest label. And also to go with the Bowie Prince stuff. Bowie versus Prince. Okay. Also have this CD single, 1999, and Little Red Corvette. And also Bowie when he was with Tin Machine. Oy Vey Baby. Okay, now we're getting down to heavy hitters here. Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. So, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. So this is a bootleg of tracks from 67 to 69, 2 LP set. And Houses of the Holy. So this was going to be my answer to some other one of these contests about album you were disappointed in or something. Because even though I was looking forward to this album when I first heard it, and heard their sort of dancey stuff on here, the grunge and Do Your Maker and stuff, it wasn't what I was expecting, and took a while to get used to it if I ever have. So I picked the Led Zeppelin, even though, I don't know, I haven't bought any Pink Floyd for a while, and mostly aim for the 72 and earlier stuff, so maybe bootlegs, but I haven't gotten any Led Zeppelin lately either. So, but Led Zeppelin, now Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty. So here's Tom Petty, Hard Promises, one of my 2 or 3 Tom Petty albums. And here's Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. So I'm picking Bruce in this case. Maybe I'll get his most recent album, I don't know. But I can't think of getting Tom Petty stuff at the moment. And then we have Jam and XTC. So XTC, bootleg called The Rhythm, recorded in Hurrahs in New York, January 16th, 1980. A 2 LP live recording. And then the Jam, and this is The Modern World. I think this is my Jam collection. And I've got several more XTC, so I'm going to pick XTC. And now Joni Mitchell and Paul Simon. So I've got the standard Paul Simon album here, Graceland. I've got the Simon and Garfunkel stuff. Joni Mitchell, here's a 12-inch single, Good Friends, from Dog Eat Dog. So I'm picking Joni Mitchell because I might end up buying some of her albums. I don't have all of them, so there's some opportunities there. Joni Mitchell, Fleetwood Mac and Queen. Fleetwood Mac, Behind the Mask. I think this is a 1989 album. And Queen, so their first album, which was my introduction. So they got off to a real good start, and then they went off track, it seemed like, on third album maybe. Started to veer way off. Still good, but very different, so I'm going with Fleetwood Mac. And then last 2, Elvis Costello and the Police. So there's Elvis Costello, Spike. This one again might be around 1989. And the Police, Synchronicity. I just recently learned that this had many variants. They would change the order of the color bands. They'd have black and white versions. This is the yellow, blue, red, I guess is what it might be known as. But I'm picking picking Elvis Costello. The Police seem kind of, I have all their studio albums, I think, but I don't know what I would buy other than that. So Elvis Costello, so that's my Battle of the Bands or 20 band matchup. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see y'all later.